ready.
Have you ever taken a pet from being a couch potato to becoming a Grand Hunting Beagle Champion? Would you name your kennel after a professional wrestling star? Are you a part of a father and son team that has won a state championship? Have you ever scored over 1,300 plus points on a field trial cast? I personally have not, but I know a guy. I know a guy that can claim all of the above and a lot more. Help me welcome Mastin Aldridge to the program. Well, hey, Mastin, how are you doing?
I'm doing just fine, Sam. Hope you are too.
I am. I know we're both down here in the Carolinas recovering from this. I thought it was going to be 8 to 11 inches of snow, but it ended up being an inch or so of nothing but ice and sleet. So we've just been sliding around where I am.
Well, that's the way it's been around here, sir.
well, Mastin, I'm excited to have you on. I've enjoyed hunting with you over the years. I've probably laughed more on the cast with you than I ever have with anybody else. We always seem to have a good time. But before we get into kind of the questions I like to go through, for people that maybe don't know you, Mastin, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into rabbit hunting?
Well, I'm self-employed. I've got 3 young'uns, a daughter and 2 boys. And the boys, I thought I burnt them out, dragging them up and down the road for all them years. But now they're seeming to get back into it. And I was raised I was raised at my grandfather's house, and he always had fox dogs and deer dogs. So, and in his I'd say when I was about 11 or 12, he got where his hearing, he didn't hear that good. So I would get to tag along to be his ears for him. If it was running foxes or if it was running deer, I was kind of his ears and everything. And he passed away when I was about 13, 14 years old. And then my uncles, Uncle Wayne, Uncle Homer, they kind of went away from the deer dogs and the fox dogs and went into beagles, so kind of stuck with me. But I did it all. I tried that coon hunting for a while, and that was fun, But I just had an old gray dog that was half walker and half blue tick. Well, she wouldn't hunt out about 300 yards, and if she didn't tree or strike some, she's coming back. I kind of like that. But then boys got to hunt them ones that wanted them to go a long ways before they tree, and they done run by about 10 coons probably. So I kind of decided, and then they started cutting big timber around here, going to cut over. So I kind of got out of it and just stuck with the beagles.
Mm-hmm. Well, Mastin, as you got started in it, sounds like you've been in it since a young man, a kid.
Yes.
So who, and I think you may have already answered this, but I want to ask you anyway, who are some of the people that were the biggest influences on you?
Well, it was as far as the dogs and beagles and stuff, it was my grandpa and my uncles. Now, I moved where I live at now probably in 96. And I had beagles here and everything. And then my cousin lived probably about 8 or 9 miles from here. No, probably 8 or 9 minutes from here. Well, he owned a piece of property, and Jeff Stacy and Larry Blevins was coming over there running at his neighbor's house, and their land kind of joined together, and he got to talking to me about it was people coming over there they running competitions, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't think too much about it. I mean, I thought about it, but, so one Wednesday or Thursday they was running over there, so, because I just had what I call rabbit dogs, right? Mm-hmm. Something I could go out, jump a rabbit, kill it, I really didn't think that I had something that would probably work in the competition with speed and everything, right? Mm-hmm. So I went over and watched them and everything, and couple times and got to talking to them. Well, I've been blessed for the 30 years that where I live at. I don't have to leave my road to jump a rabbit, right? Mm-hmm. So I kind of got them, talked to them, and they decided they'd come over here and run. So it kind of went with that. And I had a couple that did work good with what they was doing and everything. So they kept on wanting me to come over there. So finally I went and single registered my dog and went over there, and it kind of went from there, Sam. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you know, people knows I traveled up and down the road for years with Jeff and Coy, you know. Mm-hmm. And Coy was a big influence because of rules. I mean, if we went to, for the first year, I'd say I don't care where I went, Carroll County, different clubs around, I would always, Randolph, I would always seem like Coy was my judge, right? So I kind of, you know, learned a lot from watching him and basically him going over the rules and stuff with me, and then travels up and down the road to Ohio, Indiana. I mean, I traveled a lot of places with him. We would have me, him, and Jeff, and then, you know, my cousin Terry started, so it was just Showtime didn't have but two people handling dogs when you went to a hunt. So we got a lot of rules, scenarios to up while we was on the rides and stuff, and that really helped out a lot. Mm-hmm. And then after I got to know more people in the UKC, I mean, I would see Dale Pruney, I would pick his brain, and and Mr. Thornsley, Max Thornsley and stuff, right? People that had been in it a lot longer than I had, but they would take their time and kind of go over stuff with me and stuff like that. So that helped me out a whole lot, you know? Mm-hmm. Because I didn't want to be one of them people that I just got in it. And it happens today. A lot of people get into it, and they go to 3 or 4 hunts, and then now they know more than the people who's been doing it 10 or 12 years, you know?
Yeah.
So advice for the people that's just getting into it, know the rules, fully understand them, and then if it's something that you don't fully understand, maybe talk to people that's been in it a little bit longer than you and everything like that.
Well, that's a good list. I mean, that's a strong list when you start talking about Coy and Max Thornsley, Dale Pruney, and those guys. That's a really good list. Well, let me ask you, could you describe what the hunting conditions are like where you live, and what kind of dog does it take to be a good rabbit dog there?
Well, I know a lot of people say that it's no difference between a rabbit dog and a competition dog, right? Mm-hmm. But my philosophy is around here it's briars, thickets, brush piles, and all that, right? So they got to get in there and grub and, get down and hunt around. And I know UKC's Field Trials dog does that, right? But as far as me out there gun hunting, I've got no stopwatch on that dog, right? Mm-hmm. So I've got several here that I don't do strictly nothing but gun hunt them, but I also run my competition dogs with them, right? But they've got a little bit more nose than some of my competition dogs does. So if that dog, we've hunted along a rig pile or something like that, and that dog goes in there and he's opening, and some of my other dogs ain't opening up or whatever, I've got no stopwatch on them, right? But eventually that dog's going to pull all the other ones in there, in my opinion, and they're going to find that rabbit, right? So it's a whole... And so, I gun hunt my competition dogs, don't get me wrong. But when I leave here with them competition dogs, I have got 3 or 4 that I just consider gun dogs, meat dogs. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's just my opinion on it, and I guess my thoughts and other people's thoughts ain't the same, but
Well, Mastin, those
that's
good.
like when I start my puppies and stuff. I start them with them 3 or 4 gun dogs that I've got here because they gonna stay on the track more, no swinging or cutting, or whatever, and then when they start getting faster or start pulling away from them other dogs, that's when I quit running them with them. But in my thought process, they have learned to run a track better and stay closer to the track with my gun dogs.
Mm-hmm. Mastin, I love that description. I think it's really accurate. And I love what you just described. I just call them rabbit dogs. Good old rabbit dogs. I just love them. That's my favorite kind.
Oh yeah. And back when I had my rabbit dogs before I got in the competition, I didn't know their mama. I didn't know their daddy. I just knew they was meat dogs. As full-blooded beagles, and I could go out and kill rabbits with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now, as older as I got, I've killed enough rabbits in my time. So when I go now, I go with different people around here that's got gun dogs and stuff like that. I'll carry a gun, and they'll be saying, well, didn't that rabbit come by you? I say, yeah, it come by me, but them dogs are running pretty good, and if I shoot it, we can't run it no more. So one of y'all that really need to kill it. If not, we'll stop by McDonald's or something, and I'll buy you a hamburger or something if you're hungry. You know what I mean?
I hear you. You've been doing this a long time, and I know you've probably got a favorite dog or two that you've hunted over the years. Tell us about a favorite hound or two of yours.
Well, when I first got into it, I kind of went out, and I had to start fresh, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I got a dog that was a house pet, and the lady told me, said, every time I take it out, it hits something and runs off. Well, I bought the dog, and I sent it to a pen, and it wasn't in a pen about a week. And the man called and said, look, you're going to have to come get this dog. Said, it's way too fast to be in this pen. And it was actually the first dog I probably made Grand Hunting Beagle Champion and Grand Show Champion, and his name was Showtime's Mojo. And when I first got into it, you run the registers in the morning and the champions in the evening, right? Mm-hmm. So me just getting in it, I didn't have no champion. So I was going to the hunts with Jeff, or me and Terry was going, and we didn't have no champions. And so I ended up buying 2 off Jeff, one of them was Crazy. And darn here, I've done went blank with the other one I bought from him, but they called him the Holstein, Mickey. So Mickey and Crazy. So then I could hunt a champion in the evening, right? Instead of just going out watching casts. So, but Mojo, and I raised a female here. Me and Terry did. Her name was Showtime's Uptown Tara. Now, that female there, I loved her to death. And plus, you know how people used to call holes all the time, right? Mm-hmm. Well, if that rabbit went in a hole or a tree or something, right, if we was running a rabbit and they just shut up and, people's talking about that rabbit went in a hole. Well, if I got to calling and she come back, I said, boys, I'm going to tell you that rabbit didn't go in no hole. We kind of lost it. I can tell you that. And I had to prove it. She proved herself on 4 or 5 casts that way, because when her track went dead and I get the call and she didn't come in, well, I'd go find her and she'd be digging in a hole or something, stump or something, when I had to go get them. So that was probably 2 that really stand out, that really stood out to me. I did make a cross and raise a litter. My first litter that I ever raised and registered them through AKC was off 2 open dogs, but I'd had them here, and 3 of the 4 made Hunting Beagle Champion, and that was pretty exciting, to do for the first time. But, yeah, I'd say Mojo and Tara would probably stand out there.
Okay. Well, they sound like excellent dogs, Mastin. And you mentioned earlier that you'd traveled kind of all over the country going to field trials. And what are some of the most impressive dogs you've seen that you've hunted against?
Well, I mean, the list is long, you know what I mean? So I wouldn't want to leave nobody out, but I mean, I've seen the White River Isabel. I've seen a lot of dogs over the years that I was really impressed with out there hunting. So, Sam, I wouldn't feel right naming off 2 or 3 and leave somebody out. You know what I mean?
All right.
But I have seen some of the top dogs the UKC has offered over the last 20, 25 years that I was impressed by. But, a lot of people feel like me. When I first got into it, I was looking at the Beagle books and all this, seeing all these dogs and stuff, and I'm thinking, do I got really what it takes to keep going in this stuff right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I was seeing the names that was winning stuff and doing all this in them books, and I thought, well, but, after I got there and went out with some of these dogs, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I figured out that, well, by God, my dogs is just as good as theirs. And I know I'm just looking at people for 2-hour cast, dogs on 2-hour cast.
That's right.
Hour and a cast, hour and a half cast. But I said, well, I guess I can, and this was 20, 25 years ago. Say, I think I went to my first one in maybe 1998. Now, the first world I went to, I was a little intimidated there. I actually was hunting one of the dogs, champion dogs. I got it qualified that I bought from Jeff. And, you ride 6 or 7 hours with somebody, right? You expect there's no way that me and him's going to draw out together, right? Well, he was hunting Shorty, and Shorty, finished second in the world and did a lot of this stuff. But, I kind of listened to Coy on the way up the road with the rule section, We go out, and Thornsley, we had a big crowd going out for this cast. And still to this day, I do not know why we had all these vehicles going out just to watch this cast, because it was actually the first round of the world. But I know the lady that did the American Beagler, her and her husband was out there, and everything. Well, back then, you didn't get you might get warned for striking the first dog, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I'd listen to the rules and all this up the road. And Coy's out there watching the cast and everything with all the dogs going this big thicket here. And with me being brung up and hounds and everything, I knew they smelled something in this thicket, right? So, and Crazy had a big old mouth. And some dog squeaked in that darn thicket. And I said, strike Crazy. Well, Jeff's our judge. He turns around and looks at me. And all the dogs fire up after this dog strikes, right? So, it's nobody thinking, well, only body that knew on the cast what kind of mouth Crazy was Coy and Jeff, right? But I was on that card first because I knew I'd run with Shorty enough that he was going to beat me on speed, right? But, back then it wasn't no pushing the issue or nothing like that. And the dogs got to running, and we was walking down the road bed, and there was Thorny and Coy walking together. And I go by Coy, he said, well, boy, it's good that you learned something on the ride up here, said, because you know what you done. I said, yeah, I know what I done, but who was going to go in that briar thicket and tell me I struck the wrong dogs, all I know. And I just kept walking.
Well, Mastin, tell me, if you could put together a dream cast of 4 dogs that you'd like to see hunt together, And these dogs, past or present, it could be hot dogs from the day. It could be dogs that have been gone years ago. What 4 dogs would you like to see turned out together?
Well, here we go again. I'm going to go back, and like I said, I've hunted with great dogs the whole 25 years. I mean, super dogs that I would like to see. But I'm just going off 2 or 3 that's dead, and a dog I got here now, because then I can compare over 25 years. Have I got something right? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I owned a dog named Fast Track Copper. He was a red tick dog. And I would like to have that Tara female I was talking about. And probably a dog my uncle owned that he would never let us run in the UKC hunts. And we didn't get to run her till after he passed. Her name was Showtime Mary. And I would like to have my son dog that I've got now, and just see over them years had I progressed my breeding and hunting program, or I need to go a whole nother direction. You know what I mean?
I got you. That's a really good answer. That's a very good answer.
Well, some people might think that, well, he's dodging the question or something. I'm not dodging the question, but it goes back again that I have run in 25 years. I have seen, like I said, I wouldn't want to leave nobody else, because like I said, I've hunted against Tess that Dave McVeigh owned. I mean, there's a lot of dogs that were world champions that I run against that, that impressed me, but, I don't want to leave nobody out.
I got you. You've had a lot of experiences over the year, all over the country, rabbit hunting, just gun hunting, competition hunting. Talk us through some memorable experiences. And maybe it's a big win, maybe it's a tough loss. I mean, but tell us one of your favorite memories.
Well, like I said, we're going to go back to the Mary dog. Terry's daddy, mm-hmm. He owned her, and he went to a lot of the hunts with me and Terry, right? But he would never let us carry none of his dogs to the competition. He always said, they're not worthy of what I've seen and go to, right? Well, He passed in 2002, right? And Terry got all of his dogs. So we had talked about hunting Mary in the hunts, right? So we decided to register, and either he hunted her or I hunted her. And she actually became a hunting beagle champion. Well, in 2004, at the 13th Annual Nationals, that was a year they kind of went away with the, for the longest time, the top 4 scoring dogs advanced at the Nationals. Well, that year, they changed it to the top 16 dogs. I mean, top 16 would go out like they do now. Mm-hmm. And at this time, she was still just a registered dog. So I go up there and drew a cast. I know Orb Maid was on it. We had 4 different people from different parts of the United States. Orb was from Missouri, and we had somebody from Iowa, I believe, and somebody from West Virginia, I think. We pull up this place. We had a guide that was an Amish guide. He guided us up there. Well, we pulled up at this place, and it don't even look like, I'm thinking, well, Lord, what kind of rabbits we going to jump here? You know what I mean? It just didn't, that it looked like it would be plenty of rabbits there. So he told us to turn out right there. We turned out, and they did jump a rabbit pretty quick. It made a big circle. We called a line. It went up under a building, right? But still, there you did run and stuff. Hadn't seen nothing that would be more than it would be a bunch of rabbits, Sam. And so he walks us out to a cornfield. and it was like corn still standing, say, 30 yards wide, right? 40 yards wide. Then it'd be down through this big cornfield. It'd be where they cut it down through there, right? Then it would be another 30 or 40 yards wide corn. And it was like that. He told us to turn them dogs out right there at that cornfield. Well, I swear to you, them dogs went in there and they struck as soon as they got in this cornfield. Well, we're looking down this path, the part that's cleared, right? It was 8 or 10 rabbits crossing this darn path going to where the other corn was cut at, right? So when the cast was over, I'd scored like 1,300 and some points.
Ooh.
And everybody had, and what helped me in that cast, she would split, and I would score my rabbit before they did. So I was catching her, putting her back in there with them dogs. Well, she'd run enough in there with them and we scoring lines. So when the cast was over, I'd won. Everybody scored big, right? Mm-hmm. And I wasn't a judge or nothing like that because, I mean, I know how to judge and everything, but I just soon not judge. You know what I mean? Because that way I could concentrate on my own one dog instead of 4. So when it was over, Orb tried to buy the dog and said I could hunt it the rest of the rest of the hunt. I said, buddy, excuse me, it's actually my cousin's dog, and we will call him, but I said this was his daddy's dog. His daddy passed away 2 years ago, and I'm sure that the answer's going to be no. So I did that. So I advanced on and made it to the finals of the Nationals in the registered, and but she was the only dog out of 268 that would have made it under the old format and the new format because she was in the top 4 scoring dogs and stuff. So that was pretty sentimental and everything because my uncle didn't think the dog had what it took to be to hunt that, and then he had passed, and me and Terry took it upon ourselves to register and hunt her. So that was a memorable cast there. I've never won the big one. I mean, you know, I've placed at the Nationals. I placed at the McVeigh hunt. Now, I have won the Virginia State, North Carolina. Well, another memorable cast was, it was here. Dakota was about 13, 14 years old, I believe, because I was coaching Bryson and T-ball and stuff. But to make it to the finals, I had it was the Grands. Jeff had Shorty, and I had Dakota wanted to hunt Mojo, so I hunted Copper, and Mark Overcast had a dog named Rebel, but he went there, so Chris was handling it. And, you know, Copper and Rebel was more stay on that track, you know, go, but they could run. But me and Jeff knew that a lot of times when you put Shorty and Mojo together, they would start fighting for the front. You know what I mean? They was just wanted to be there, you know? So it got down to probably they'd run this rabbit 30, 40 minutes, and we could not see it. We just not consider it. Well, about 5 minutes to go in the hunt, it popped out, and we all seen it. Well, we could hear them coming. Well, you know how it is. They always make this bother right before the line, right?
Oh, yeah.
And in my mind, I was thinking, since I was hunting Copper, me or Rebel, or Chris was hunting Rebel, was going to pick us up and come across the line. Well, sure enough, Shorty and Mojo, they kind of picked it up, and they come through, and Mojo edged Shorty out and got first line. Well, they run it to the rest of the hunt. So that being said, Dakota moved on to the finals of the North Carolina State Hunt, and that was in 2005. Well, I couldn't stay and watch the final round because I had to go coach Bryson's ball team, me and Terry did. So I kind of left him there, and Jeff said, well, I'll look after him. He'll be all right. He knows that dog's mouth and everything. So the whole time while I'm at baseball practice and everything, we thinking, well, I wonder how Dakota's doing. Well, about time baseball practice was over, Dakota called, and he kind of sounded a little down and out, and I said, what's going on, buddy? Well, he said, well, I just want to let you know that I guess I'm the first one in the family to win the North Carolina State Hunt. Well, so, it took me 3 more years. I believe in 2008, I won it with a dog that I was hunting, so I kind of had to live that for about 3 years till I ever won that North Carolina State Hunt.
I'm glad you had a chance to win it. Those are really good stories. Very good story. Good accomplishments, too. That says a lot. Those state hunts are definitely something to be proud of, and the work with the married dog for sure. That's big time. 1,300 plus points, or over 1,300 plus points. That's a lot.
And it was in the book. I mean, in the full cry and all that she was the only dog that year that would have made it under the old format and the new format. So, I mean, that was probably one of my memorable hunts, you know what I mean, as far as a man that taught me and kind of kept me out of trouble and stuff. Because I was a wild one now when I was younger. I don't beat around the bush and I never beat around the bush to my kids, right? They come home with stuff, and I really couldn't lose my temper or nothing about it, because some of the stuff they done, I'd done it 20, 25 years before they done it. You know what I mean? So.
Well, what's one of the craziest things you've seen while out hunting?
Well, this has happened twice, and plus it happened to one experienced judge. And everything's going good on this cast and everything. Just having a good time. The whole cast was right. Mm-hmm. Well, it gets down to about 10 minutes, 15 left in the hunt. Well, everything's tight on both of these casts that happened, right? And they was about 15 years apart when they happened, and the first judge was Dave McVeigh. And he took us to a spot that was plenty of rabbits and everything. Well, everything's going good on this cast. Well, and I done eat 100 minus, so I about knew where I was, right? so that being said, one of the guys says, well, Dave, can you add up the score and let us know where we all stood, right? Well, I told Dave, I said, don't add my score up. I know where I stand, and they know you should add mine up. Well, he added it up, and them 3 dogs was about 5 to 10 points apart, right? Mm. Well, and David held his finger up every time when his dog struck, right? Well, there was a dog in there, and I don't know whose dog it was, but I knew it wasn't mine because I knew mine was hunting 50 yards behind us, right? Well, then all of a sudden, the dog barked 4 times, and nobody had struck it. Well, Dave asked who it was, and this one guy said, well, that's your dog, Dave. And it just kind of got blowed out of portion there, right? And, well, it's a scratching offense, and we 45 minutes from the clubhouse, right? So we got to load up everything. Well, I told him I would vote with Dave but I said, really, boys, what the problem y'all got is not my problem, because I'm worried about my dog, and I know it wasn't my dog that struck over there, right? Mm-hmm. So we have to ride all the way back to the clubhouse, Go to the master hounds, and the master hound says, well, look, it's 4 adults out there. You know what I mean? It's hard for me to say, well, he went with Dave, and them other 2 boys, they withdraw their dogs. So we got 15 more minutes to hunt or something, right? So we have to go back out, me and Dave. And I thought that I'd never, and what was the bad thing about that? You know me, I like to joke and cut up, right? Mm-hmm. So that evening, I drew Dave again, right? He was my judge. We out there, and we ain't been into the hunt about an hour. I said, Dave, is there any way you can add the score up again? And he looked at me and he said, Master, that will never, ever happen again. I said, well, come on, it happened this morning. Let's make this cast a little interesting, But he didn't. And then, like I said, I took a break for 4 or 5 years. We kind of got burned out. Mm-hmm. My first nationals back 2 or 3 years ago. Cast going beautiful. Everything's along well. They asked that judge to add up the score. There again, I told them I knew where I stood. I was in last place, right? So it wasn't no use to taking the time to add my score up. Well, last rabbit we jumped, it went 8th on that one. Nothing, everything had been cut and dry the whole time till them 3 dogs was 5 or 10 points apart. So then you have to ride back and go to that committee and stuff like that. So, it's just, you add the score up in my thing when you get back to the truck. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Then you ain't got that, but that was crazy. Both times it was crazy. And then that second time it happened, I'm thinking, because it was my first ask, why did I get back? Or why did I even think about? And the young boy that questioned it, he's doing real good now. And I say he's doing real good in UKC. He's winning a lot of hunts and everything. Mm-hmm. So maybe I say that he learned something about his attitude that day out there on that cast. Mm-hmm. And he really got bent out of shape. And I know the judge was a better man than me, because I would have lost it out there the way that young man was talking to that judge. So that's why a lot of times, like I said, I couldn't deal with judging that much at a big hunt or whatever, because something like that, I'd lose it and I'd definitely be barred from UKC.
Well, those are good stories. That is crazy. Mastin, I think you hunt mostly like a hunting beagle, hunter and hound format now. And
yes.
What if you could add or subtract or modify any rule? What would it be?
Well, I'm kind of still back in it. Like I said, been back in it 4 or 5 years. I'm still from the old school. If you jump that rabbit, you should still be, before it's scored, you should score a line, right? And like I said, this goes back to opinions, but I have noticed in the since I've been back, and from the old school, when 4 dogs got struck, everybody was spreading out trying to see this rabbit, right? Mm-hmm. Nowadays, they can strike and all 4 dogs are running, but you're sitting there waiting on that judge's opinion to tell you that, that dog has, they have circled that rabbit good enough to plus the strike points, but, there we go again, that you're waiting on somebody else. Then on the cast, after they say that, everybody kind of spreads out again. Then it starts looking for the rabbit, right? Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of people don't understand, or I don't guess they question it or whatever, but that's a scoring offense, right? So you can ask the judge, well, why ain't we done plus this strike points before we can spread out and get a line, right? But it just seems to me these days, to cast them on, when all 4 dogs are stuck in there and you know they're running, I think that we should be spreading out more and stuff. And look, so that rule there don't, I think when all 4 dogs are struck in and they're running, because it seemed like when I first got back in at Sam, I could strike a rabbit, be first strike, right? Mm-hmm. And it seemed like they'd have to run 400-yard circle before the judge would say, we're going to plus the strike points, right? Then again, one of their buddies or they strike, that thing could run just around a little circle around my front yard and they was plussing the strike points, right? So, but I've got to say that I have hunted with Randy Workman about 4 or 5 times, or 7 times probably. I've hunted against him in Ohio and he was my judge. I've hunted against him in Pennsylvania, he was my judge. I hunted against him in West Virginia and he was my judge. Well, before you turn out or cut them dogs loose, he tells you exactly how that striking and running, when he's going to plus the strike points. And if more judges did that, it would help it out a lot. Mm-hmm. And I've hunted with him and his dog be struck first, his dog be struck last. It's the same scenario every time, right? Mm-hmm. So, to me, before you turn out or before you cut the dogs loose, that judge needs, because every judge, a circle is different, right? So, to me, that judge needs to tell you, this is how, at the dog strike, this is how I'm going to do it, right? Because a circle is no defined on a circle, right? If you jump a rabbit, it runs out there and circles around that tree, a little tree, and comes back, that's a circle, right? It ain't no determination how big the circle's got to be. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of gray area there, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. So you'd like to see that cleaned up, maybe a better definition of what a circle is, that we're all using the same definition of a circle.
Yes, I get it. Then plus this thermometry stuff. Now, that's another one that gets me that UKC's got now. It says you cannot use that in no scoring situations, right? Mm-hmm. But in the next paragraph or next thing they go over the hunt list, now you can use that to determine if a dog's in a hole, right? Or you can mark the place and go to where that dog bar's last, right? Well, there you go again. That's a scoring situation, right? Mm-hmm. And it happened to me in Virginia this year. 3-dog cast, dogs running. They blew it up. It was hot. It was obvious they blew, but the man said that his dog was not moving, right? And the judge asked me what my thing was. I said, well, they didn't really run it that good or whatever, in my opinion. I said, you can minus me. That's what I would do, Well, this guy didn't want to do it, so, and it's hot and everything, so he says his dog's still there by that thing. Well, mine and the judge's dog had done left that area, so we have to walk 20 minutes. It took us 20 minutes to get in there because of how thick it was where the dogs was.
Yep.
And halfway in there, I asked the man, I said, is your dog still at this pole? No, he's probably back there where we cut him loose at. Well, now here we are. We halfway in there fighting briars, everything, getting cut up. We look worse than the dogs did when they come out. So we get in there, and here's this big thicket. Well, he walks around the edge, and it's no hole there, right? Mm-hmm. Well, he goes into this thicket, and he finds a hole in the middle of this briar patch, and he asked the judge that he wanted to come in to see it. Well, that judge wasn't walking in there. He said, nah, sir, just take me a picture of that hole and come out here. So we wasted and it was hot. 30 minutes or 35 minutes walking in there to that hole, right? But, common sense, and to me, you can basically tell where the dogs bark last, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can't get to the exact point, right? But there we go again. You're using your thermometry to make a scoring situation, right? So it kind of, you can't use it, but in the next paragraph that the people reads over the thing, you can do that for a place, a hole or something. So to me, if you can use it for that, why can't you use it for anything else,
That's good. That's good. I like what you're saying. Mastin, you mentioned judging, and you've been all over the country. You've hunted at local club hunts, and you've hunted at world hunts at the biggest kind of an event, nationals and those kind of things. Who's the best judge you've ever hunted with?
The what?
Best judge you've ever hunted with?
Best judge. But I would have to say, in my opinion, the best judge that I've hunted with, right? And I would say Scott Fluhart. Scott always treated me fair, and he judged me a lot when I was in Ohio. He come down here and judged me in North Carolina and stuff. So he was the fairest one out of them all. And I mean, Jeff, it's been several good judges. I've had Dave McVeigh and everything, but, I'm just throwing out a name from the past that, that he always treated me right and did me right. So,
Good answer. If your life depended on winning a cast and you had to choose someone else to hunt your dog for you, you can't hunt it. You had to choose somebody. Who are you going to choose to hunt your dog for you?
Well, in the best scenario, that I would have one of my sons with me, right? But if not, and since I've got back into it, it's nobody that ain't but one other person that kind of handled my dog at a cast and everything, and that's Dustin Irvin of Ohio. I put a lot of trust in him at the clash this past year. I showed up a day early, and I really wasn't feeling the thing of running, right? And he was there, and he asked me, he said, Mastin, y'all need anything, anybody to run a dog or whatever? I said, yeah, you can run, son. Well, he had less than 24 hours to take son to his house. He took him to his house. He run him at night, him and his daddy. Well, during the clash, I went out and watched other casts, right? I didn't go out to watch my own dog hunt or whatever. And then when I seen the cast that he drew the first round of the thing, I was glad that I wasn't in the cast, because there was some big hitters in there, and he handled it good. And like I said, we made it. He made it through the first round, and was tied the second round to move on, but 15-minute runoff or whatever got him. So, but I'd say if I wanted somebody besides my two boys running my dog, I would choose him.
Dustin Irvin. Very good. As you're out there on these competition casts, and we all want to win, we're not there to lose, is there anybody you like to beat just a little bit more than everybody else?
Here we go with this. It's probably some names I would like to, but my boys feel the same way that I do. When we go out there, they want to beat me, right? And I want to beat both of them just as probably worse than anybody else, right? I guess because we're all three competitive. And if I beat one of them, I can talk junk to them. And I know if they beat me, I'm going to hear it. If we in Ohio, I'm going to hear it all the way back to Denton, North Carolina, right? So
That's good.
Like you said, everybody wants to win, but me and them two boys is competitive and everything. And Dakota don't get to go as much as Bryson because he's got the 3 grandkids and stuff, but he still loves to do it. And I don't know, just beating one of them, it happens a lot because Bryce's dogs is in his name, they in mine, and I've drew them over the years, in casts. So I just soon beat my own, you know what I mean? For I will have bragging rights, around here at 6244 Martha Drive.
That's a great answer. If you need help on a hound-related problem that you have, and you can only call one person to ask for advice, who are you going to call?
That's a tough one there, too. If we're talking, because, I'm going to say the last fight when I got back in the hunting, competition, it was kind of like, I felt like that I didn't have what I needed here at the competition, right? I could still go back and do it, but I didn't have what I needed here, right? Mm-hmm. So in that 2 or 3 years I was away, I still kept up with UKC and stuff like that, right? So I wanted something different or a breeding that was, I didn't think it was done in this area, right? Mm-hmm. So I kind of kept up with it, and Owen's, I've known Owen Dogstein since he's probably 18, 19 years old. Met him at the one of the McVeigh hunts when it was still at the Shoemaker's farm, right? Mm-hmm. So I'd watched his bongo dog and seen what all he was doing, right? And I got in touch with Owen, and I told him that, he knew I hadn't been at the competitions, and his dog was going to have a litter of puppies, and I would be interested in buying one. Well, he says, he's selling it to people that going to do the competition, right? And I understood that, and I told him, I said, well, look, I'm just now getting back in it. When he gets old enough and stuff, I will competition him, and I will try to make him a champion, right? But farther than that, I don't know, Owen. Well, luckily, I have made him Grand Hunting Beagle Champion. But right here around the house, if I had to call somebody, and it would be for different reasons, he's helped me out a lot with the breeding process I got going on now, because he does all the research on the grandmas. I mean, he goes back and checks genetics and all that. And he's got a pretty good deal going, because he did help him and Mark Overcast, him and Jeff was in on them breedings that produce Freck and Flame and all that and stuff like that. So I would probably be in here local, and where I could get to and talk to and everything, it would probably be Mark Overcast.
Mm-hmm. That's very good. And
so, but I mean, there's so many people in this area where I live at, like Jeff. I mean, it's a lot of people right here I could go to, but I mean, it's just, especially if it come to the breeding part of stuff, it would be, I would go to Mark, because I can send him, because I'm not kennel blind or nothing like that. I mean, I think I have assembled enough stuff, bloodline here now, that I probably got some of the bloodline that's anywhere in the United States, right? I mean, I've got Rogan Buck stuff here. I got Mongo stuff. I got Ruger stuff here. I've got Big Meadows. I've got Black Butcher. And I'm probably leaving out some that I ain't got here, right? Mm-hmm. So then when it comes to that matching up dogs to breed and maybe produce something to be a competition dog, like I said, I would go to Mark, because I might send him the pedigree on him. It might take him a week or 2 weeks to get back with me, but he will figure it all out. He's straight up honest with me. Well, no, I don't think this would work by looking at everything and stuff like that. So what I've been raising here for the last 2 or 3 years, I've kind of went back to him and let him do all the genetics and all this, figuring out ancestors, how it should match up and everything like that.
Mm-hmm. That's a good answer, Mastin. You've been all over the country to hunt. Do you have a favorite part of the country to hunt, or maybe even a favorite club?
Well, I was an active member of Randolph for 14, 15 years, but I tell you what, I really love Mountain City up there in Tennessee. I really love that area, and Crescent. And I know that Woody and Art, they, bless their hearts, they're gone. They have left us, but I still love that part of the country up there. And Ronnie and Thomas Brown, I think, is doing a fine job up there to keep that club going and stuff. They have not got the time and resources like Woody and Art did. And the old coon hunters up there, you used to go up there and they didn't have no problems having 30 or 40 spots easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of them old coon hunters is dying up there. And Ronnie and Thomas both work, so it's hard for them to get out and talk to the community like Art and Woody did.
Mm-hmm.
Them two could sell an Eskimo a freezer, right? Them two, they could talk enough stuff to sell people an Eskimo a freezer, So that's how they got that place. But, I mean, like I said, and that's one state that I go to a lot and hunt. Now, I made it down to the finals twice in that thing to win the Tennessee State hunt. And I made it this year. But I've come up short of winning that Tennessee State hunt. And that eats at me. That's one hunt I want to win. And then plus and a lot of people don't, I like going to Ohio. Ohio's got plenty of rabbits. But I like going far as gun hunting and stuff. I kind of like going down to Harker's Island on the coast and hunting off the inlet waterways and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a lot of swamp rabbits down there and stuff, and it's some good running down there.
I should have asked you this question earlier, and I just it got away from me. Where did your kennel name come from? Showtime Kennels?
Well, that was kind of funny. My boys, it used to be just Aldridge's kennel, right? Mm-hmm. But both my boys, and it's 9 years difference between them, right? So they, my daughter's the oldest, then Dakota, and then Bryson. So they was watching wrestling or something, that entertainment, and somebody was called Showtime on there or something, right? And then one of them, I can't remember one, said, well, that's what we should call our dog, Showtime. So it kind of started with that, but it come off that WCW or WWE, or that's where it come from, off wrestling.
I love it. That's good. Mastin, I still have a few questions as we start to tidy up a little bit, but what do you see as one of the biggest challenges for future hunters?
Well, first of all, they probably need to buy them 2 brand new pair of boots and buy them a young dog or something. And when they wear them 2 pair of boots out, they might have a rabbit dog, right? but it's just that they need to get in there and not come into it thinking they know everything and stuff. Mm-hmm. But the basic thing is learn the rules and understand them. And still, I still go to a lot of clubs, and it's more youth I see showing up at the hunts than it was when my boys done it, right? You might have 5 or 6, right? Mm-hmm. But, you go to hunts now, and you see them, they've got the programs going for the ewes, and that's a good thing, because without the ewes, it's not going to go no farther, right?
That's right.
So we've got to have the ewes coming and stuff, and so, it's just going to be a challenge, but the world has changed so much in the last 20 years. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm kind of glad I was brung up in the era I was brung up in, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it's just not, you've got to have people they got to have good influences that's getting them in it and kind of stay behind them. And if you're kind of used to the hunt, don't just give him some dog just before he can go out there, right? Mm-hmm. If you're going to put a kid out there, give him a dog that he can be competitive with or something. You know what I mean? You don't want to send him out there where he's getting blowed out of the water by the other dogs. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's my opinion. And plus the rules. Now, like I said, both my boys went when they was younger and stuff, but we had rules seminars right down the road there from the house. They would go out, and I guarantee you they knew the dog they was hunting. They knew his voice and everything. And I told them if they never won, neither one of them ever liked for me to go out and spectate them, right? They didn't want me there because, Bryson, both of them, Dakota, 13, 14 years old, hunting at the McVeigh hunt, hunting at the World. And I might not even be hunting a dog that round. Hey, y'all want me to go, Dakota, you want me to go out there? Well, no, you stay here today. Bryson the same way. They did not want me to be out there with them. And they said, we know the drill. If we'll question it, if we need to vote on it, and they changed it. If you come back with a question, you'd have to pay a fee or something. I said, well, y'all get out there and y'all think y'all getting hoodooed or whatever, or don't fully understand what they're telling you. You go on and question it, and I'll be here when you get back, and don't worry about that money that you got to pay for that question, right?
That's right.
So it's just, you just need to, a youth needs to, and what they call that little boy up in West Virginia, I hunted with that kid, darn, what they call, it's Steve Moore's great-grandson. I forget what his nickname is, right off the top of my head, I can't remember, but I hunted with this little boy at the Pennsylvania hunt, I believe it was. Mm-hmm. And when that cast was over, we had about 10 minutes to go, 30 seconds to go in the hunt, right? But everybody decided they wanted to call timeout. We caught the dogs, and we was going to walk all the way back and get that last 30 seconds right there at the truck, right? Mm-hmm. Well, we walking back up through there, and the little boy comes up beside me and said, congratulations on winning this cast. And I looked down and I said, well, buddy, I'm not for sure you won this cast. He said, well, I'm going to tell you, if we don't strike another rabbit in that 13 seconds, you have got me by 10 points. I said, okay. So we turned them out. And at 30 seconds, it wasn't no dog struck. So we called them, and it was hot. So I walked my dog over there get him some water there. And the judge was adding up the cast, and sure enough, when they added it up, I had that little boy by 10 points.
Oh, my goodness.
And then I hunted against him on Sunday. He won the cast, and me and him was walking back to the truck, and he told me the scores of every dog on that cast. He knew it in his head, who won it and everything. So he and I believe I seen where he finished or he won something. But I know it's Steve Moore's great-grandson, and it's kind of went off the top of my head. He's got a nickname.
Is it Bug Spray?
Bug Spray, yes, Bug Spray. That is one smart kid right there. Now, I'm going to tell you, and he's got it all down pat.
I find that amazing. I know people, very few people that can do that, but there are people that I've hunted with that are adults that can do it. Not any kids. Well, I'm doing good just to keep up with my own dog, let alone everybody else's.
Oh yeah, Bud Spray has got it down pat now.
He's a smart kid.
And, yeah, I mean, and I've hunted with him two or three times, and I'm gonna tell you what. It's just amazing how much or how he knows what he knows at an early age. But I mean, you know, you grew up around your great grandpa Steve, and I think the world of Steve. Him and Dale helped me out a lot, and up there at the Steve Moore thing this year, me and him spent quality time. Me and Steve just talking about old times and stuff. So it kind of helps when you go back and you see them people that helped you out and they still around that you can talk to and stuff. Mm-hmm. That means a lot.
Well, Master, why do you keep doing this? I mean, what keeps you going back and jumping in that briar patch?
Well, I asked that question a lot to my own self, right? But since both the boys are back in it and stuff, and like I said, I've been blessed that where I live at, I don't have to travel. I mean, things has changed around here as far as they clearing fields to plant crops down and everything. But it makes a lot of difference when you can, because right now I believe we're sitting on like 19 running dogs and 10 puppies that's less than 5 months old out of different litters, right? So the young dogs, I enjoy getting the young dogs started, but I have done told both the boys that I've got more years behind me than I got in front of me, right? Mm-hmm. And so I am, and I've got a grandson. Like I said, he come down here today. He's out of school, wanted to run dogs, and me and Dakota took 2 dogs, turned them out. They jumped a couple rabbits. We seen them. He seen them. So I'm trying to, I don't know, I guess, since it was passed on from my grandpa, my uncles and stuff, to keep the boys and hope they keep their kids or grandkids, you know, the grandkids into it, right? Mm-hmm. So that's probably, and it's good exercise, right?
It is.
Mean, at my age, I need all the exercise I can get, and so it keeps me active and stuff, and when you got 19 dogs you're running, and I run with so many different people, like Danny Lee, a good friend of mine, mm-hmm. Mark, I hadn't run with Jeff and them lately, but I got another guy, Kevin, that I hunt with. Well, they all got beagles, right? So you don't want to carry 20 dogs out there rabbit hunting. Some people do, but I'd say 10 dogs is most, 10 to 12 is mostly we gun hunt with, right? Mm-hmm. So if I carry 5 dogs to go with one of them that, say on a Saturday, well, I've left 14 here that didn't get run, right? So mm-hmm. I try to run 3 or 4 times a week, and like I said, I've been blessed. I don't have to leave my road to do that, right?
Right.
So, I mean, it keeps me active and stuff, and that's like a newbie come down here. Bryson was his guide during the memorial, I believe it was the memorial hunt this year at Randolph, and as soon as he walked back in the door there, because I'll send Bryson or somebody here, but I run here all the time, right? So if I go to a hunt at Randolph, I just soon go where some other's place because I run so much here, and I feel like my dogs, and I shouldn't feel that way, that my dogs should have an advantage of running here so much, right? Mm-hmm. But Bryson or Dakota's not around, so they really don't know. They know what vicinity to hit them in, turn the dogs out. That's about it. But Alan walked in and said, You ever thought about killing any rabbits over at your house? I looked at him, I said, what are you talking about? He said, we've had splits all day. I said, well, no, I try not to kill no rabbits out at my house. Well, he got it 2 days in a row. They went to one side, both that Saturday, he hunted both sides of the road. Well, he had it both times, splits everywhere. He said, well, how do you run over there without having no splits? I said, well, this is the thing, Alan. I run 4 or 5 dogs together at the same time every time. So them dogs know when they whimper, you're taking 4 dogs down there that's never been together or nothing and turn them out. And if they can all run a rabbit, you're going to have that problem of them splitting, right? I said, but mine, no. I kind of keep if I run 5, I would kind of run 5 together one time. Then the next time, I keep running the same 5 together, right? So they know and they pack up better. I said, but so that Sunday, I knew that Bryson was the guide and Alan was the judge. Well, we was going to a place and we was kind of behind them. Well, Bryson turned the opposite way, away going to the house. I said, well, darn, he carrying them somewhere else? Well, he took Alan in the back way that he hadn't ever been before, right? Alan thought he was going to a new place, but they ended up here, but they hunted the other side of the road. Bryson said, well, we won't go over there, Alan. We'll just go right here in this swamp here. We got an hour. Said, I'm pretty sure we'll get at the rabbit here. Well, Alan come back. He said, my God, that side of the road is about as bad as the other side. He said, we had 4 dogs running, and all 4 of them had a rabbit. He said, we were seeing rabbits go across the yard. I said, well, I don't know. I got to have the rabbits to train all them young dogs and stuff, so I don't kill them or nothing. So, but, I said, well, at least you're going and you're getting plenty of rabbits. You're seeing rabbits. They said, well, the finals was run, the Memorial Finals was run here. I said, Alan, y'all have run this place the last 2 days. I don't think this evening cast y'all will have the problems that y'all have had the 2 days you've been here. And sure enough, they didn't. The dogs, I don't even believe they called a split. But you get pushing them rabbits, they going to move deeper and deeper back. And then when I know it's a hunt around here, I might, and I know they possible a cast coming here, I might run on Monday and Tuesday here, right? Well, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it ain't no dogs turned out here or nothing. So the rabbits are gathered back up in there where they was that way.
Mastin, is there anything that I didn't ask you about I should have, or is there anything else you want to cover or promote? Do you have stud dogs, puppies, anything like that you want to promote?
I've got dogs here, and puppies that I could have sold during Christmas. People was calling me all the time wanting to buy them, but the people that wanted to buy them was wanting to buy them for pets, right? So I've got 10 puppies down there. Like I said, they from 3 months to 4 months old. Well, I want them, if I do get rid of one of them, I want them to go to hunters for I can see the process of because my son dog has never been bred. I waited till he made grand before I bred him, right? So I have bred him to 2 different females. So I kind of want them to go to people that I know that's going to hunt them and give them a fair chance before I breed him anymore, right? Because, it's no use breeding him if he's not throwing something that's kind of similar to him, right?
Right.
And UKC, I've did it for a long time, but I'm not one to just set my stone in UKC. And I did go, me and Bryson went to an ABC hunt down towards where Bryson lives. Now, I didn't care what I say, one of the top-notch dogs to that thing, right? Because I wanted to see how the format and all that went, right? But I know it reminded me more of the old ways back in the day of people. Soon as all 4 dogs was struck in, people was breaking their neck to try to see the rabbit, right? and to me, I mean, it would bring back the way that, that I got started in it. You already know what I mean? You had to see the rabbit to score it. And then plus, the rules is kind of basically the same as you. But I was hunting the hounds and hunters where it was just 4 dogs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And only thing different, one thing I see different is, in UKC after 3 lines, you got to catch catch the dogs, right? If you can run that rabbit for a whole hour and you see that rabbit 10 times, you score. You know what I mean? And I kind of like that because to me sometimes, and even Branko Carpan, I was at a hunt. I was just a spectator like he was up in Ohio one time. And they was pounding this rabbit, and they scored 3 lines. And Mr. Capan was sitting there talking to me and Coley. Well, when they started hollering for them dogs to catch them, he said a few choice words, but he wanted to know why they was catching them dogs, right?
That's right.
And they explained to him that they didn't want the rabbit to be caught and everything. Well, he says, well, to me, them dogs are focused on that rabbit running it, and you catch them and pull them off that rabbit. He said, that's got to do something to the dogs, right? Mm. And he did have a smart thing. He said, how many rabbits are called out on this cast, right? On a cast, right? Mm-hmm. But I know snowshoes up in Canada run a lot bigger circles and stuff than down here in Ohio, North Carolina, or something like that. They're more long-winded, right? Mm-hmm. But that did stick to me right there about why do we catch it? I've been on cast. I'm sure you've been on cast. You might catch a baby rabbit here and there, right? Mm-hmm. But how many have you been on a cast where you run a rabbit and by the 3rd circle you have caught this rabbit, a grown rabbit?
I can't remember one. No.
Well, that's me. I can't remember. I see people all the time gun hunting. They catch a rabbit, right? Mm-hmm. I don't think maybe over my years of rabbit hunting, they might have caught 1 or 2. And some of them probably was shot at and got hit, and then the dogs caught it. But one that hadn't been actually shot at or whatever, and the dogs run and catch it. Maybe 2 or 3 times in my lifespan that I have seen that. Mm-hmm. But I have enjoyed this, Sam.
Mastin, I've had a good time. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm serious when I say when we've been out on hunts, I've probably never laughed as much as I have when I've hunted with you.
Well, that's one of the things I try to do, and I really hate going out on them casts where, everybody is taking it dead serious, right? They don't want to talk. They want to do nothing. Well, that's just not me. You know what I mean? If we out there, let's have a little fun. Joke and cut up to make it go a lot better. It don't need to be all this tension. It ain't a matter of life or death out here on these casts. You know what I mean?
That's right.
You're out there to have fun. Everybody wants to win. I understand that. But at the end of the day, it's going to be 3 losers. You know what I mean? So why are you out there if it's hot, cold? Nothing ain't that good. Fellowship. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think those are really wise words, Mastin, and I think this is a great place to end it. Just really focused on the camaraderie and the sportsmanship and just that fellowship that you have with the fellow hunters.
Yes, sir.
Mastin, I thank you so much for coming on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for listening to Buff in the Rough. Remember to like and subscribe if you want to be notified when new content is available. And please send comments and suggestions to buffintherough@gmail.com.